How's it going, everybody? Today's video is just going to be a quick little walk around in my boat. I'm going to be possibly getting rid of it soon, so I figured I would do this before I got rid of it, just for me to have in the future, remember what I had, and then for everybody else who asks me questions and stuff about, what I'm running, how it runs, everything like that. So I'll give you guys the lowdown on that. Just some specs. I'm going to throw them up on the screen right here, and you guys can take a look at them. But it is a 2019 Havoc Marsh Runner. It is the 1656 model. I have a 90 horsepower Mercury on it, 4-stroke. It's a 2019. And then I also have a Minn Kota Tarova 55 pound 12 volt. And those are the main components of it. And I'll go over everything else. I would just like to say, before I start actually going over the boat, this thing's been awesome to me. I traded a motorcycle for it with a little bit of cash on my end. I've used it way more than I ever would have used the motorcycle. Got me back into fishing. Just time for something a little bit bigger for me. And I have used this thing in salt water. I've used it on lakes. I've used it in rivers. I've taken it to the springs. Everything like that. It is done well everywhere. Obviously, it is a duck boat, so, waves, everything like that. It's sort of rough in waves, but I've never had an issue. I mean, I've been at the jetties, I've been outside the jetties, anything like that. So there's been some sketchy times in it, but all in all, it's done very well for me. All right, guys, I'm just going to start from the front and go to the back. Up front, both sides, I've got some rigid lights that actually work pretty well for whenever I'm flounder gigging as well. Whenever I gig, I have a setup that goes on my trolling motor from Outdoor Riggers. I've done a gigging video. It wasn't that great, but they pair very nicely with so having lights over the water and then under the water on the trolling motor. So if you guys are ever thinking about that, I would go ahead and do over the water and under the water. You can take the glare off if you need to by eliminating the top over the water lights and then just run the underwaters. The Minn Kota Tarova 12 volt and 55 pound thrust does very well with this boat. I will say, if you are anywhere but probably on the Atlantic coast where the tides here are just insane, the way that they pull through inlets and stuff, you should be perfectly fine. There's a couple times for me, at the jetties or under bridges, things like that, where it does not want to hold. But I would say, all in all, it's really not made for those situations, so it's not at fault of this. I mean, you just need a heavier power one, a 24 volt at those points. But everywhere else, and I would say 90% of the time, it sticks perfectly fine and works perfectly fine on this boat. So if you're thinking about getting one for this size vessel, I would say that a 55 pound 12 volt will do you just fine, especially if you're on lakes and rivers, depending on how fast, obviously, your river is flowing. It's got a 3-prong, and it's hooked up right here in the back. I pretty much always run with my net right here. It is out of the way of my boat. I can still open up my hatches. I can still open up my anchor hatch up here, which is just this. So good amount of room up here, anchor hatch, access to some of the lighting, wiring, things like that. Honestly, I pretty much never use the anchor, so I never come up here. If you guys see right here, I've got my, not a Yeti, RTIC, doesn't matter, but my cooler is up here on the front of the boat. When I first got the boat, I didn't have this, so this makes a world of a difference. Number one, most of the time whenever I'm fishing, I am up here on the front, standing on the cooler, and it gives you that higher vantage point. It also, in this boat, gets a lot of the weight off of the back. The engine is heavy, the boat sits naturally down in the back. Whenever my body weight is up here on the front of the vessel, it makes the boat draft shallower. So I was going to talk to you guys about that real quick while we're here. This boat drafts very shallow. I would say that I can draft in, 4 or 5 inches of water. And if I have both people, if I'm fishing 2 people and both people are standing on the front deck, it makes it a lot easier to pull and just get through shallow waters. With the trolling motor running, I can probably run in, 8 inches of water. Just depends. Are you scared of getting your trolling motor muddy? How muddy it is it oyster, things like that, right? So most of the areas I'm running in are mud. I can sort of drag the back, but I can get pretty shallow in this thing and work around. All right, so I just have these RTIC mounts for the cooler. Nothing special. I know there are places that make more sturdy ones and things like that, but I have honestly never had an issue. You just can't be running, and like the cooler will roll. I don't have it tightened down at all right now, but the cooler will roll if you're not careful, but I have never had an issue being careful. And I mean, that is in wavy, choppy areas, windy areas, everything like that. Standing on this cooler for me has been fine. It doesn't shift around or anything as long as I have the tie-down straps tied down pretty tight. So never had an issue there. Nav light up front. I put on these cleats because a lot of people with duck boats I've seen only have the handrails and they tie off the ropes and stuff to that, but mainly using it in saltwater and being around, you know, larger wake areas and stuff like that, I wanted cleats. So I got the attachable cleats. I've got one on each corner, and they worked very well, and I've never had any issues with them. Something I added on, I went ahead and did the spare tire mount down there. It's just a little U-bolt and works fine. Boat gets on and off the trailer. Didn't have a spare whenever I got it. I wanted one since I travel a lot of the time with it, so if you guys need a spare, it does fit up under there. Right here I got my shallow water anchor, so I just run it in between this, and then I've got a little rubber mount right there, and this thing has worked fine for me too. Even with the current stuff in Jacksonville, I've never had an issue with it sticking me. So I just put it in, and then it comes with a rope. You can tie it off to a cleat, tie it off to the handle, anything you need to do. So that's that for the shallow water anchor. All right, I'm up in the boat now. This is your main hatch, access point for storage, anything like that. So I got a lot of stuff in here. You do have a lot of room in here. This is where I pretty much keep everything. My extra flotation, my bait buckets, my ruler, my dog's bowl, all of my emergency supplies are in here. And then this is the 13-gallon welded in gas tank up front. I've got my trolling motor battery in an enclosed box right here. So the gas and battery never had any issues, stuff like that. I just needed to make sure that it wasn't an enclosed box since it was going to be so close to that gas tank. Never had any issues up here. Everything drains out nicely. Gas tank, I will say, don't fill the gas tank up. Obviously, the boat is going to rock and everything like that. So if you are filling it up all the way to the brim, or even, you know, to about there, sometimes it will leak out. So I would just watch that if you're dealing with that. This storage as well, so you can see there's storage right here. I would have had this whole side if I didn't have the trolling motor, that whole side, and then you can also get behind the gas tank. So I've got like all my life jackets and stuff behind the gas tank. Oars, paddles down there, extra light. There's even more room over there on the other side of the battery. I've got life jackets, so good amount of room right here. This whole deck area, got room. Something I added, metal on metal right here. Gets pretty vibraty and loud whenever you're riding in chop or wind, anything like that. So these are just like window seals, the little rubber ones with the 3M sticky tape on the back. I threw them down right there, and it makes a world of a difference on the noise level of the metal in the boat. All right, speaker system. I've got the 8-inch JLs, got 4 of them. My amp is underneath here with the fuse, and then the head unit is right there. Super loud, more than anything you would ever need. They were in the boat when I got it. I honestly never use it because it is so loud that it makes the metal vibrate, and even on like the lowest setting, the way I fish and how spooky redfish get and everything, it would just not be conducive. So if you're looking for really loud speakers, awesome. Speakers for fishing, probably not. Whenever I used to listen to music while fishing, I would have to listen to it off my phone because of how much I thought that these made vibrations through the metal. Maybe something to think about if you're going to be fishing and listening to music. All right, I got the Noel Industries console trim tab, or my trim for my jack plate is right here, up and down. If you wanted your tacho or RPMs, hour meter, anything right there, you could throw it. I got my Lucky Boiled Peanuts, always got those in here. RAM mount for the phone. I would be careful if you have one. My phone didn't stay in there very nicely. There were a couple times that it almost flew out of the boat actually, so make sure that thing's secure. As far as the Garmin goes, I've got the Garmin 73SV UHD2. This one I actually bought is the US Lakes and Maps edition, and then I just got the Garmin subscription for a year, uploaded all the maps that I needed, and I think it ended up being way cheaper than me getting the saltwater one with all of the coastal waterways. So that's how I ended up having to do this. I really like it on this RAM mount because I can screw it, unscrew it, loosen it up, flip it around, and then whenever I'm trolling, I can just look back at it and it's facing me. So that makes a lot of a difference. Be able to see how shallow you are, everything like that. If you're in a deep area, if there's fish under you. So that really helps out a lot. I use that every time I'm up there on the cooler. So I would definitely recommend that. As far as seating goes, I've got the Millennium seats, Millennium Marine. So fold up, got one that can go right here, one that can go right here. There's a plate underneath the cooler that I could put one as well, and I actually have a sort of like for a bass boat, the pole to make you be able to set up a little bit, but I've honestly never used it. I've always had the cooler up here. I would rather have the cooler up there than in the boat. It just makes it so much cleaner and more room. So 3 seats possible. Honestly, I always pretty much run with 1 seat because once I get out there and go fishing, I've got someone standing up on the cooler in the front, and then someone's probably standing back here on the back of the boat. So I'll remove this seat, put it down on the deck over here or over there, and then someone has the back area to fish off of as well. All right, I've got the seat removed. This is where I would have it whenever I'm fishing 2 people. I threw down a sea deck ruler. I would be careful if you're throwing down a sea deck ruler. That's actually why I have the Fraybill one in the front now. If you stretch it a little bit, if you compress it a little bit, the measurements are going to be off. This one is very close, but it's not perfect. So if you're using this, just be aware of it, especially if you're keeping fish that are right on the line. You know, game warden could check it. Maybe he'll measure your ruler and give you a break, but I would get something a little bit more official if you're keeping stuff that's supposed to be 15 inches and it's 15.1. I would make sure you check with a good ruler. All right, switch panel. Nav lights are right here. Bilge pumps right here. This one's not hooked up to anything. This does my interior lighting that goes along these rails. So you can just sort of see it lit up blue right there. It goes around the whole boat. And then this one does the fog lights in the front. 12-volt charger as well. One thing that I'm not necessarily very happy with on this boat is this rear hatch. You would think, and I have to explain to everybody whenever they're on here, I don't know if Havoc has updated this and fixed it, but this thing is just held on by 2 little 90-degree pieces of angle iron. I, again, have those window sills here because it sounds pretty damp right now, but if it's metal on metal, it was making a lot of vibration and noises. It's not very sturdy, so I didn't want people standing on it all the time. I don't need that thing breaking, right? So not necessarily, I mean, if you know it's there, it's fine, but for people just stepping on it and stuff all the time, I think that that is a point that will break on this boat eventually if you weren't careful and used it sparingly. All right, now what everybody always asks me about, I've got a 90 horsepower Mercury 4-stroke on here, 2019, with a 23 pitch Mercury Tempest Plus stainless prop. Everybody's always asking me how fast I can run, all that good stuff, right? So I've gotten up to 43 miles per hour, a little bit over that. I walked out, never going that fast again in this thing. I'm sure you could get faster, maybe with the correct jack plate and trim settings, but not something I necessarily want to do after that experience, so I'm good there. I can easily get up to 36 miles per hour, probably more than that with 3 people on here. So, I mean, it runs pretty fast for a John boat. It's aluminum, it's a tiller. It's more than anything you need, honestly. So, just some stuff that I have on this engine that it didn't come with whenever I started setting it up. So I didn't like that my engine always moved around back and forth, right? Whenever I was driving, even with just the transom saver on, it still wiggled back and forth. So I went to Academy, got these. I had to shave them down with a razor to fit nicely, but now I've got that. I also didn't like that the tiller sort of would drop down, and you can actually see where it would rub right there. And I felt like that was causing extra wear on it, so I have it bungee corded up, so everything's nice and snug. Engine's not going crazy whenever I'm driving around. I actually had these bolts right here shear off while I was on the water one time, so I'm very weary about how the engine is while I'm driving down the road. I think that the driving had something to do with those bolts, so I would just definitely be careful about that and not just leave your tiller, you know, smacking around doing whatever. I got the U-Flex hydraulic steering assist for the tiller that helps out. I've got the C-Choice jack plate. I wish I had a kick plate. I got the transducer mounted down here on the C-deck puck, so you didn't have to drill or anything in the hole. Nice custom rims. Got the decals, all that good stuff. Alright, I hope I'm not forgetting anything on it, but this boat, like I said, has been amazing to me. More than anything I could ask for. I will say if you had like a whole family or something, it's probably not going to be the best, but if you duck hunt, it floats shallow, you don't have to worry about it, it's metal. If you fish, you can definitely fish off it. That's what I've been doing mainly. You can take, you know, your dogs to the springs on it, everything like that. So it just depends on how comfortable the people you are with want to be and how comfortable you want to be. You could even get a bimini top, something like that if you needed to, but I have no complaints. Besides probably that little hatch in the back. The engine stuff isn't really Havoc's fault. Yeah, I've had a great time with this boat. Thanks for watching the video, guys, and let me know if you have any other questions.